Hello and welcome to episode 295 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm Brian.
And that was a challenge.
It was a challenge.
I'm
It was
James.
pretty rough. And we are going to get more tales from the Duskmourn Crypt here and
That's
talk
right.
more about some cards from the set.
Yeah, we got through white and blue last time. I didn't have anyone get a hold of us about any cards that we might have missed, so we're just going to keep rocking.
We were perfect.
Yep, just going to keep rocking with my list here. Hopefully we get through the rest of the colored stuff, and then maybe next week we'll do some cycles. But
Hopefully.
we'll see how far we get.
Yep.
The cycles should go quick, so if there's some extra cards in there, that we should be able to get through the cycles and some extra cards.
So if you want to reach out to us on social media, Facebook, Discord, Twitter, or I guess X, email, all that jazz, those links are in the description below.
Yeah, hit us up if there's any cards you think we missed and you want us to talk about, or if there's stuff you're unreasonably excited for, make sure you let us know. If you want to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do that, as always. The first is our TCG Player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. Follow that link on over to TCG Player, do whatever shopping you're going to do, support the show at the same time. It doesn't cost you anything extra, just a click, and really helps us out, so we would appreciate that. If you want to support us more directly, Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG is where you can do that. Chip a couple bucks in turn, you get access to our show notes, so you get kind of an outline about what we're going to be talking about that week, and you get access to our unshow, another hour-ish of content out of us every week. We spend a little bit of time catching up, checking in with each other, making sure our equipment works before every show, and we record it and let you guys listen to it. So if either of those things...
Real estate edition.
Yeah, a lot of real estate lately. Very topical.
Very topical.
Yep. So if either of those things sound good, or if you just want to support the show, like I said, Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG, chip a couple bucks in. We would really appreciate it.
So before we start on the cards, just like a quick 30 seconds. Yes, we know that perhaps the biggest fan in the history of Magic the Gathering happened on Monday.
Holy moly, yeah. Did not see that coming, and I think more money was erased out of the Magic economy on Monday than has ever happened ever.
Yes, that's been So for those of you who are blissfully unaware, the Commander Rules Committee, who exists outside of the influence, if you will, of Wizards, banned Dockside Extortionist, Jeweled Lotus, and Mana Crypt. There we go. Yep. And then Nadu Winged Wisdom. So 3 cards specifically designed for Commander by Wizards.
Right.
Over the last is Dockside the oldest? Maybe 3 or 4 years old?
No, Mana Crypt.
Well, of the ones designed for Commander.
Oh yeah, Dockside.
Yeah, Mana Crypt came in a book.
Yeah.
25, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I got one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, out of the book.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I had one that was from the book era.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't have the card. I have no idea. It's probably in the box where my dual lands are from when I was a kid. I have no idea where it actually is, but I mailed out and got. I had an Arena also.
Oh, nice.
I had Arena, Sewers of Stark, and a Mana Crypt from the books.
Wow. And then Mana Crypt, a card that Wizard has been selling as super duper foily boily, different colors, limited edition, serialized, whatever's.
Yeah.
All got banned, and there has been much wailing and gnashing of teeth.
Yeah. I guess there was already a movement to try and get a
CDH.
Yeah, CDH rules committee or whatever. And I think this has revitalized it.
Yeah, I've heard that as well, that it might be that you end up with that being the solution, is them just being okay, fine, I guess we're going to treat these separately.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's interesting. Though they were we won't ban Soul Ring.
Wild.
They were like, can't ban Soul Ring. We print one of those in every precon,
Yeah.
but
So
we'd print two in every precon if we were allowed.
Jeweled Lotus is lost $50.
Okay.
Mana Crypt, it looks like most editions lost $100.
Whew.
And let me check Dockside. See, from Commander, it lost $60.
And then the movers were Mana Vault.
Oh, I got a bunch of them. Wonder how much they are.
I heard they jumped up in the neighborhood of $50 a piece.
Wow. Oh
I guess depending
yeah.
on like,
5th edition, $125.
Jesus.
Yeah, 4th edition, $100. Yeah, buddy.
And then I saw a video of like, what are the most expensive commonly played cards in Commander now?
Yeah.
Mox Opal's $88
Okay.
or something. Chrome Moxes are $100 a piece.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm like, remember when Chrome Box was $5?
I wonder if Mox Diamonds moved. Nope. Perfectly flat line.
Perfectly flat line.
Yep.
Uh,
Oh no, the Stronghold ones are up.
Yeah.
Yep, they're up $25.
There we go. There we go.
Yep.
So, yeah, wild. I mean, it's interesting that on some level the RC did kind of what people have been asking like Wizards to do with some of their curated formats, where they were like, you know what? We're not going to pull the we're just going to pull the Band-Aid off, and we're going to like fix all the things that we think need to be fixed right now.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, letting like Legacy just kind of like flounder and like not fix anything.
Right.
Where like, oh, it would cost too much money. Like RC is like, don't care.
Well, I mean, like it kind of, we're going way off topic from what the actual show's about here, but like it also kind of highlights a problem. I guess that's debatable whether it's a feature or a bug with the format that like Wizards has absolutely no control over it. Like it seems absolutely insane to me that the most popular format by like a country mile, Wizards has zero control over.
Yeah, which like makes sense why maybe they would be like, we're going to like bring CEDH in under the mothership and maybe like run it, or to like try to bring it in.
Oh, I don't
like
think that's the case at all.
I mean, they could try.
Yeah, but I think the community is trying to organize something like the rules committee. I don't think Wizards is doing anything.
But it is wild. But like, like, oh, these were just recently reprinted, and I would just go back to like, they put Splinter Twin in like a master set, and it was like one of the $10 or $15 like,
yeah,
maybe more rares in the set, and then like 6 months later they were like, oh yeah, we've decided to ban Splinter Twin.
Yeah.
It's like, you just reprinted it.
Yeah.
Like, people were opening packs to get Splinter Twins, and you were just like, oops.
Well,
so, like, I don't know if that would stop it, but like, I don't think Wizards would ever be like, what are the 3 most valuable cards in like Commander, and let's ban all of them at the same time.
Yeah, and like that might be another thing that Wizards is looking towards also, is like ways to put their fingers in the pie, so to speak. Because like in whose ever idea this was, I mean, not only did they just erase a whole bunch of money from people's collections, but they also erased a whole bunch of reprint equity. Like, how many sets has Mana Crypt been like one of the chase cards for?
3 or 4?
At minimum 3 or 4.
Because like, it was a Kaladesh Masterpiece. It was recently the like,
it was Eternal Masters.
Last Caverns of Ixalan.
Yeah. It was in Mystery Booster. It was in Double Masters. It was in Commander Masters.
So
it's been in like every Masters set.
Yeah. And it's funny that like unlike Tarmogoyf, where like we've not hit the number of reprints to drive the price
Well, I
down.
mean, part of the problem with Tarmogoyf though is that deck's not like playable anymore.
But like they went from $200 to $50,
Yeah,
right? Mana crypts just keep getting more expensive. And now granted, a lot of times they're printing them as like, the like ultra rare
yeah,
purple like
yeah,
cyberpunk foil edition,
sure,
whatever, right? But like we never hit the point where like mana crypts got cheap.
right. And that's
And
exactly
like
what I mean. Like Mana Crypt is the ideal card to put as a headline card of a set
mhm.
because you're never going to tank the price of it, and like it's going to move packs.
Yeah, because like every commander player seemingly has like 7 commander decks.
Mm-hmm.
And like we are as a species lazy, and
Right.
like the idea of moving the mana crypt
Mm-hmm.
to each of your decks, you're just like, I'll just get another one. Right? And eventually you just like, or like, ooh, that one's fancier than the one I have.
Yeah.
I'll get that one and I'll put it in my like, my favorite all foil commander deck.
Right.
And I'll move this mana crypt to like my second favorite deck.
Yep.
And oh, that mana crypt fits the theme of my second favorite deck better. So I'm gonna buy it for that. Like it's a Transformers mana crypt and it fits better with my like
Robots.
Transformer commander. Yeah. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
So like every time like it seemingly there's like an infinite like demand
Mm-hmm.
for the card. Yeah, and it's just gone now.
Right.
Like they like what what are they gonna do if like they've already like printed and boxed up like the next set that like the chase card is a mana crypt,
Yeah.
right? Like it's gonna turn into like a when you go to like a Magic Fest or a Magic Con and like someone has Zendikar packs and like if you open a lava ball trap, they let you get a new pack. You like if you open the mana crypt, you just send it to WotC and they just send you a new pack.
Yeah.
Sorry. Um so yeah, a wild thing happened. We don't like play Commander, but it was just like from a Magic finance point of
From a
view,
finance perspective, I think
it's
it's fascinating.
just wild and like how quickly like people are like now moving on to like mana vault
Yeah.
and like other like fast mana.
Well, like what's weird is Commander was like the market for all of those cards. Like
Mm-hmm.
Jeweled Lotus, I think saw some play in Vintage because you could like filter the mana, right?
There's it's what is it, doubling cube?
Yeah.
If you play it and you crack it with a doubling cube, you have 3 commander mana, but the doubling cube mana is not
Yeah.
tied to your commander. So it's like again, like Legacy, it was like Black Lotus at home.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
like none of those cards have a chance to see play anymore.
no, they're just completely and totally done.
Yeah, they're like erased from history almost, joining the ranks of Pradesh gypsies and Crusade and
Stone throwing devils.
stone throwing devils. Yeah, they just don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's
Like Dockside. Dockside doesn't see play anywhere, right?
no. No, and like it's templated to not really see play
Right.
anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right, like I play my Dockside in my Goblin deck. Cool, I'm playing Delver. You have like a 1-2.
Yeah.
I have no artifacts. Like, oh, no, I'm sad.
Yep.
But like, and it's also funny, like the how things go on the commander ban list, but like never come off. Like, you cannot like convince me that like Primeval Titan is like bannable with the power level of like current like
Yeah.
Magic cards.
I think
I
like
mean,
there
like
was a
there's
point where they pulled some cards off because it wasn't like Protean Hulk and Flash banned in Commander and they're not anymore.
I think maybe, but like it's just funny some of the cards that are on the ban list that you're like, why is this here?
Yeah.
Like if you told me like and then like you have the like you know why is Soul Ring okay in every precon, and
Mhm.
why is Mana Crypt like no?
Right.
Like
Because it's not in
they're
every
kind,
precon.
I guess exactly.
Yep.
So if Wizards would just been pumping them out in precons,
Yep.
you'd still have Mana Crypt because ever. And I wonder how much of it was like this is a $200-$300 card
Mhm.
that like everyone feels like they need to have.
Right. Well,
But
imagine being
also
that kid though. Like you're the kid that just
has
saved up
Mana
and
Crypt.
bought a mana crypt and shoved it in his precon, and now like that card is worth more than all your entire Magic collection combined, and now
Or
it's
you just
worthless.
traded all of your cards for the Mana Crypt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, there's a guy who does like top 10 best fill in the blank Magic cards of all time.
Mhm.
And he's like big in the commander stuff and whatever. He's like, I hear stories from people that are like, my shop just lost this much money,
Yeah.
or you know, I just bought my friend their first mana crypt for their deck last week, and it's like, yeah, like that's like terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't shuffled up a paper deck in I don't know how long. And even
Mm-hmm.
when I did, I wasn't really a commander player.
Yeah,
And like my collection just lost easy couple $100, if not more. Like I think I have two dock sides, a mana crypt, and a jeweled lotus.
yeah. I mean, I imagine being the commander player with like again one mana crypt in like every deck,
Yeah.
right? In your 7 decks, and you're just like, oh, I'm out like $1,500 today.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, Wizards does take a long like in addition to reprint equity and just like money, like there is like from Wizards' point of view, like they don't have control of this organization that just costs them like a ton of like
Right.
consumer confidence,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because like wow, they'll ban anything, right?
Yep.
Is that like if anything starts to get good, like, oh, is it gonna get banned? It's gonna get banned.
Right.
But yeah. I think that like the weird thing about Commander, and I've brought this up before, is like it's the casual format that everyone wants to win at,
Yeah.
right? Like the whole rule zero thing, like can you and your friends like I know these all these things got sold, but like if you show up on like Thursday to your commander night at your LGS, can you just be like, uh, we're gonna pretend it's September 19th,
Yeah.
2024, right? Like, it's just like becomes like 9/22/23 night or 24 night, and you
Yeah.
just like we're gonna party like it's September 29th or September 22nd, right? Like that seems fine.
Yeah.
Like it's not like these cards are like worthless,
Yep.
but like again, like who's sanctioning commander tournaments? Like you can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
So
They're by
anyway,
definition unsanctioned.
yes. Anyway, we had that little aside. So now let's talk about cards from the new set.
Sure. We're moving on to black now. We did white and blue last week. And the first one is probably not the most exciting card, but there's something here that I want to talk about.
Okay.
So this is Baelmerk Leech. It is 1 and a black for a 2/2 Leech. And it has Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, each opponent loses 1 life. Like this card in particular, I don't think is, breaking any rules or the most broken thing on the planet. But we did talk a little bit last week, and when we did the mechanics about how like Constellation is very good,
Mm-hmm.
and basically when you put like you tie anything to it, it's like a little bit more powerful than it would seem at first glance. So pinging your opponent for 1 for having enchantments ETB is it's a worthwhile ability for sure.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to talk about, well, one thing before that is like this card kind of reminds me of Doomwake Giant.
Okay.
Like, not a ton. I mean, you're not wrathing your board with it or anything, but it's an ability that is going to add up over time. Like Doomwake, if you obviously you're not going to kill anything huge with it ever, but over the course of a game, if you know kill 2 or 3 of your opponent's creatures, like that Doomwake has done its job. It's gained you a tempo advantage. It's
Yeah,
gained you.
you snag an X1 when it comes into play,
Yeah,
and then like maybe the next turn you play like 2 enchantments, you get an X2. Like
right.
it's an amazing return on investment.
Yeah, and this is kind of the same way. Like it comes down super early, and if it just hangs out the game and it like ends up, it's probably going to end up more than lightning bolting your opponent, but it kind of just paid for itself. You know what I mean? Um, and so the reason why I wanted to talk about like this card in particular is because it seems we've gotten a lot of cards lately that are just kind of punishing your opponent for playing Magic.
Yeah.
We have the Lizard that pings when lands ETB. Shieldred pings for drawing cards. There's other cards that ping for drawing cards as well. It just seems like there's kind of like either a big mid-range or like borderline control deck in the works that is just set up to punish your opponents for playing
Actually
the game
playing
with
the
you.
game.
Yeah.
It's also funny that like these are
And it seems like we get one every set. Like every set there's
yeah,
something that comes along like this.
but like these cards are almost like from a bygone era.
Yeah.
Like the Ankh of was it Ankh of Mishra?
Yeah.
That like was it like whenever your opponent played a land, they took 2 damage or
Yep.
something. Underworld Dreams is originally from Legends,
Yep.
which we saw a reprint
Mhm.
in Theros Beyond Death. But like these cards from like old Magic, was it Pyrostatic Pillar?
Yep.
Like that were like, oh, are you playing the game? I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I'm gonna do mana barbs. Like when you tap a land, it deals you damage. Like, oh, you're gonna
Yep.
play the game? Like, no, we're gonna make that unpleasant.
Yep.
And
Eidolon,
they
Great
were like,
Rebel.
yeah. And like up until like Eidolon, like that was kind of a mechanic or a design space they shied away from.
Yeah.
And then there was like Eidolon,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like a one-off like pyrostatic pillar on a body.
Yep.
And like I'm sure the argument was like pyrostatic pillars an enchantment, it's hard to kill. But like now they just keep putting them on like putting these effects on more and more creatures, and it's like old school Magic design where it was like no one cares who has fun.
Right.
Like no one is going to have fun in this game.
Yep.
And it's like weird that they've kind of gone back to that
Yeah.
with like a lot of cards.
Yeah, it is weird. And like I said, it just seems like we're getting more and more every set.
Yeah.
Like it's something that they're turning the knob up on, which
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, it might make for an interesting deck in the short term. It's going to be miserable to play against, and it might even be miserable to play, but it might be something to have fun with for a few weeks.
Yeah. I mean, like the red guy that I'm sure we're going to talk about later in this,
Yep.
plus Shieldred, plus like Sign in Blood.
Yeah.
Just like take 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
Good game.
Brutal.
Good talk,
Absolutely
everyone.
brutal. Yep.
All right. What's
So
up next?
that's it for Bale Merc Leech.
All right.
Next
Bye-bye.
one we have is Come Back Wrong. This is 2 and a black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature. If a creature card is put into a graveyard this way, return it to the battlefield under your control. Sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step.
Okay. Like, this is like a weird saw in half from like the unset.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. I could see that.
Um,
This is, I know when we talked about the limited archetypes, we talked about the black-red sacrifice deck and how that's kind of tied to whatever the act of treason is, or the threaten,
yeah.
being good. And this is kind of both halves of that wrapped up in one card, but backwards.
Yeah, where like you kind of make them sacrifice it first and then you get it like.
Yeah.
But like it doesn't have haste. Like this is very much like kill a thing with an ETB.
Well, it just so happens there's some things that are worth killing that have ETBs.
There's a whole cycle.
There is.
And there's Atraxa, and
Atraxa.
Atali,
Yep.
and like all these other things. So yeah, like it could have like a home.
Hmm.
Like it seems like if like people are treating it cheating Atraxas into play, being able to like play this and then draw your 5 cards off Atraxa to keep up
Right.
seems reasonable.
Yep. Now it's a sorcery, so it's not.
Great.
Yeah, that's going to hold it back a little bit, but I thought it was worth noting that
Hmm.
seems to be a pretty clean answer. If nothing else, out of a sideboard when you're playing against some kind of reanimator shenanigans.
Yeah, I just like we're on like white Converses and like TVs and stuff. Does not feel like we've stopped being a high fantasy game.
Definitely. I think we stopped being a high fantasy game a while ago with
Yes,
Universes Beyond.
true. But in standard, we got to live that lie.
Sure.
We were a high fantasy game in standard.
Yep. Anything else for comeback wrong? Or are we moving on?
No, I think we're good.
All right. What's this next one here?
So this is Demonic Council. This is 1 and a black for a sorcery. Search your library for a demon card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So literal tutor for a demon,
Yep.
demonic tutor.
Demonic Tutor.
But with Delirium, if you have 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, instead search your library for any card, put it in your hand, and shuffle. So we've had Traverse the Uvenwald at 1 mana.
Yeah.
That is like have Delirium do the thing, and it was like worth the juice was worth the squeeze, right? There was that Greasefang deck a few Pro Tours ago that like played Vessel of Agency to try to get Delirium. So like I don't know if this is a standard card. It might be more like a commander card where like having you know demonic tutor with extra steps is still probably pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference between this and Traverse is that Traverse wasn't a dead card if you didn't have Delirium.
Fair.
And like tutoring for a demon isn't super relevant. I could see that being like a downside. You have to have a very specific deck to make this, like the front part of this, good.
Yeah, like in standard, it's probably there's not enough demons that matter.
Yeah.
I mean, there is one.
Yeah.
And then, but like I could see like in commander, like particularly like what is it? Is it Kalia the Vast?
Mm-hmm.
That like was you have angels and demons?
Yep.
And dragons or something,
Dragons.
right? Or some like demon commander deck. Like this goes right in there.
Sure.
But like it's interesting that like this is another one of those times where they've like tried to get to like the iconic old card by was that me or you?
That was me.
Okay, I was sure what was going on. Like we had what was that card? It was like 1 in the black, but if you had Delirium, it was like him to Turok.
Yeah.
That card never saw any play.
Yeah, I was kind of excited for that card too. I'm bummed
Yeah.
it didn't see any play.
So like this is probably not going to see any play, but it's interesting that like this is another one of those cards where they're like, what knobs can we turn to get to the iconic card that you loved in your youth?
Right.
So there you go. That's my 2 cents worth.
Um,
Interesting that we're knob turning, but
do you think this kills my Traverse spec?
I think that the fact that Traverse is 1 mana
Yeah.
is probably big game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like if you're let's say you're like the Greasefang deck, like the deck that kind of has like the oddest collection of permanents.
Right.
Right? On turn 4, you'd much rather have Delirium cast Traverse, get Greasefang and play it
Yeah.
than have to wait till turn 5 to do that.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, like Traverse kind of lets you cut lands.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you could have a couple basics for Traverse to go get.
Yep.
So where this like there are no demons in that deck.
Right.
So I think you're fine
All right. Good.
until the RC bans it.
Until the RC bans it. All right. Next up, we have Meat Hook Massacre 2, the sequel. This is XX Black 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 Black. For a legendary enchantment, when Meat Hook Massacre 2 enters, each player sacrifices X creatures Whenever a creature you control dies, you may pay 3 life. If you do, return that card under your control with a finality counter on it. And whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, they may pay 3 life. If they don't, return that card under your control with a finality counter on it. I don't know that for like competitive constructed, that's 6 mana is going to be
Sack a creature.
yeah, sack a creature is worth it. So can we ignore that for a minute and see
Okay.
what the floor is on this card? Is 4 mana for bringing a whole bunch of stuff back worth it?
Is it? Is it
Potentially
Dictate of
bringing.
Erebus? Is it the?
No, that's
It's like it's very similar. It's
Athreos.
very similar. Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's Athreos. That's
Yeah.
right. Like when a creature dies, pay 3 life, bring it back.
Yeah.
Like Athreos didn't. Like Athreos was easier to cast, right? That was the 3 mana one. The one.
Yeah, it was easier to cast, but I think it did less because like it gave your opponent a choice for every creature you had. So like that's kind of a bad version of this.
It's kind of Punisher, where this is you're making the choice.
Well, you're making the choice for your creatures, and you're letting your opponent make the choice for their creatures.
Okay. So they can't kill any of your stuff, really.
Right.
And if you kill their stuff, they're also taking 3. So it just tacks like deal 3 onto all of your removal spells.
Yeah.
I mean, for black, just having like all your creatures come back have to be killed twice, and your opponent has to take 3 every time you cast a removal spell.
Yeah.
Probably fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't think that you're using this as a board wipe like you were for the first Meat Hook Massacre.
No.
I just wasn't sure if the backside of this was relevant at all.
I think it's just hard, like, on turn 4. Like, it's a very awkward turn to be like, I'm going to just take turn 4 off.
Right. I can either play a Shieldred or I can play this.
Yeah.
Or I can play it
one of them impacts the board
for this.
Yeah. Yeah, one of them impacts the board and then one of them doesn't.
Right.
So like I think that's where it becomes like difficult.
Although like this is pretty
once
good.
It's down.
Like alongside Obliterator though.
Yeah.
Makes it so your Obliterator is super hard to kill. Yeah.
Like if it's down and you untap with removal, like then it's good.
Yeah.
I'm back. Realized I was sliding further and further out of frame. So yeah, like, but I don't know if you're gonna have that like turn 4 window,
right?
To just like stick it, but it seems good once it's down. But like, worst possible name, like
sure.
These are just awful.
I get what they were going for, but you were just the last card you were just talking about, or not the last card. Come Back Wrong. You were just talking about High Top Converse and whatever.
Yeah.
Now we've moved on to movie sequels in Magic, like in universe.
I mean, what is the one card like? Unwanted Sequel is actually the name of a card.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got up next?
This is Sporogenic Infection. 1 and a black for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. When Sporogenic Infection enters, target player sacrifices a creature other than enchanted creature. And when enchanted creature is dealt damage, destroy it.
So this is an edict that you get to like remove 1 creature from the consideration.
From the choice, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also an enchantment, so it triggers Eerie. And like if you have something that deals a damage, or you have a bunch of chump blockers, like it's removal for 2 creatures, kind of.
Yeah. Not that I think this is gonna like find its way into this deck, but like Mayhem Devil.
Hmm.
they sack something that puts a trigger on the stack, which then
Yeah,
lets you ping the thing you put this on.
sure. That's pretty
So
good.
like, right, like if they had a shieldred, that's the thing you wanted to kill. You like put it on the shieldred.
Hmm.
They sack something else,
Yep.
then you ping their shieldred.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's better than it reads like at first glance. I think it's
Hmm.
going to play better than it reads, I should say. Because like
Yeah.
realistically, you're in black, you're running removal anyway.
Hmm.
Like if your opponent has 3, 4 creatures out, you're probably doing a bad job to begin with.
You're a bad black mage.
Yeah. Um, in which case this is kind of just a removal spell. Like if
Hmm.
you're if I mean if like it's bad if your opponent only has 1 creature.
Uh, but if you have a creature, you can put it on your creature.
Oh yeah. I
Because
didn't even think
target
about
player
that.
sacrifices a creature other
That's
than the
true.
enchanted creature. So like you play it, you target the creature, you target your creature, it comes in,
Yep.
you target them with the target player sacrifices.
Yeah, okay.
And then so like you have to have a creature, but like with one creature you can get the job done.
Mhm.
If you each have one creature, you make yours kind of feeble,
Yeah. Oh, you know
where
what?
like it.
I don't know if the deck is still around, but that Orzhov SRAM deck with
Oh
the
yeah.
Hateful Eidolon.
Mm-hmm.
This thing's pretty cool with that, because then when your creature dies, you draw a card for this.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to bring some version of it back, so we'll see what
Yeah.
I can do.
Yeah.
Um yeah, but this is it does play more interesting than it reads.
Hmm. Yeah, I
But
thought
like
so.
I think the baseline it is like it's a sorcery speed Children's Edict to some degree,
Hmm.
where like you're getting to like instead of like non token or token,
Yeah.
you're just like
Not that.
not this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that.
All
What's
right.
up next?
Next up, we have
Ah,
Unstoppable Slasher. This
so this
is.
is
Oh, go ahead.
a zombie assassin. It's
Hmm.
a 2/3 for 2 and a black. It has death touch, and when it deals combat to a player, they lose half their life rounded up. So this can actually kill someone.
Yep.
Um, when Unstoppable Slasher dies, if it has no counters on it, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with 2 stun counters on it. So in limited, you have to kill it twice,
At least twice.
at least twice. And you have to kill it before the stun counters come off.
Yep.
Now, like, I guess you could like put other counters on it, like slap a +1/+1 counter on it
Sure.
or something. Um, I mean, it's pretty decent sack fodder.
Hmm.
Like, it kind of comes back. Um, yeah, interesting design, like flavorful, like Michael Myers, Unstoppable.
Absolutely. I definitely think this is a house in limited.
Yes.
I think this is going to be a definitely one of the best rares in the format.
Yeah.
Having this is from somebody that has not played the format yet, so maybe
Yeah,
I'm
but
wrong,
just
but it seems really good.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, like anytime you like have a creature that like you have to kill twice or is resilient, they're always like good. Like think
Yeah.
about this is kind of like shield counters in reverse,
Hmm.
right? Where like the shield counter went on, and you had to take it off, and then you got to kill the thing. This is like you put counters on it, then you have to kill it again.
Yeah. Um, the like I think the card reads fine. I don't know how great it's going to be in constructed. I don't know if it's quite
Mm-hmm.
constructed power level. But kind of like we talked about with Balemark Leech, one of the things I like to do when I'm looking at a set is look for trends in design, and I think this fits a trend in design as well.
What's that?
Um, we had Tenacious Underdog
Mm-hmm.
and Mosswood Dread Knight,
Okay.
and I think they're both similar cards to this. Now I know like both of those cards drew cards, and this is kind of backwards. Like it comes back and sticks around instead of kind of being temporary but granting you a card.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of in similar design space, which I just thought was kind of interesting.
Just like kind of like the sticky black creature.
Yeah, I mean, being Death Touch, it's kind of a removal spell that you get to use
But
every
like,
third turn or whatever.
think about right, like Tenacious Underdog was 4 mana
Mhm.
and like 3 life.
Yep.
Right. Mosswood Dread Knight ended up being 4 mana and a life if you wanted the card,
Yeah.
and then the body. Like this, you only pay 3 mana one time. Like it's kind of on layaway,
Right.
but you pay the 3 mana, and unless they have 2 removal spells for it,
Mhm.
like it just keeps like casting itself. It's like you just drew a 0 mana 2/3
Yep.
with Suspend
And Death Touch.
and Death Touch. Yeah.
It
So yeah,
also
I can see it like I can see it being similar to those cards.
Yeah. It also, for whatever it's worth, triggers all the stuff that cares about things leaving your graveyard.
Oh yeah, like Insidious Roots.
Insidious Roots, yep. So,
Excellent.
interesting card, I think. And then we have one more black card. This is Withering Torment. 2 and a black for an instant. Destroy target creature or enchantment. You lose 2 life.
Target enchantment
Yeah.
for black manas.
Yep.
That's like a reasonable amount of mana.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like 2 mana, it would be like at rate. So this is slightly worse than rate, but you also get to hit an enchantment. So I don't think the downside is.
Yeah, but think about like, was it Winter's End? Was that the card from Bloomborough that was like exile a creature or exile an enchantment?
Yeah.
For 5 mana.
Yeah.
Now this is destroy a creature or enchantment for 3 mana and 2 life, but like
2 life doesn't matter unless it's your last 2 life.
this is very true. So it is very interesting that like it's just like we went from like, oh, we should like, was it 3? I guess it is 4 years ago when we got the one in the black.
Yeah.
Like, so in 4 years we went from like sorcery speed, take a bunch of damage, to just like instant speed, like kind of on rate with like disenchant.
Yep.
Like this is Dark Banishing from like a million years ago,
Yep.
but also gets an enchantment.
Yep.
So, yeah, color pie be damned.
That's right. Ruffling feathers.
Or the color pie we grew up with, be damned.
Exactly. All right.
Back in my day.
Moving on to red.
All right, let's move on to red. What do we got here?
First one we have is Clockwork Percussionist. It is a red mana for a 1/1 artifact creature monkey toy. It has haste, and when Clockwork Percussionist dies, exile a top card of your library. You may play that. You may play it until the end of your next turn. This seems like a pretty good. Is it Reckless Goblin?
Raging Goblin.
Raging Goblin. Yep, that's what I was thinking of.
It's a good Raging Goblin. Was the one from a couple sets ago that was like red, and you got to look at the top 2?
Yeah.
And you get when it died, and you got to pick one. So you don't get the like selection, but you get the haste. Also, the fact that it's an artifact.
Yep.
Right, like helps with delirium if you're into that kind of thing in your constructed deck.
Yep, that is the other half of where I was going with this.
Yeah, and like
it's something you want to bin and is an artifact.
Yeah, and 1 mana like 1/1 haste is not great, but not like embarrassing. And the fact that it dies into a card.
Yeah.
Some percentage of the time, right? Sometimes you'll get something you can't cast, but like half the time it's a card, it's pretty good.
I tend to like cards like this because it lets red-black, which is traditionally either an aggressive color combination or a mid-range color combination, it lets it play like a tempo game almost. where like blue-red decks, you generate tempo in different ways, but this is something where you can, like, it wants you to play an aggressive deck, but also pays you off quickly while doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can get in for 2 or 3 points in the early turns, and then use this for an advantage when it dies, plus paying you back by replacing itself. Like this is exactly the kind of game that a I don't even know what you want to call it, like an aggressive slanted mid-range deck or
Mm-hmm.
a disruptive
You can think
mid-range
about it
deck.
as like I think of this kind of card gives an aggressive deck more longevity, more staying power, right? Like
Hmm.
when this card is bad, it just turns into another card,
Yeah.
right? Or like so you just turn it sideways,
Hmm.
and when it stops being profitable, you still get to turn it sideways, and it might turn into a shieldred or a removal spell,
Yep.
right? And your opponent doesn't want to block it, right? Because like maybe you're planning to have them block and then you shock the thing to kill
Right.
their 3 toughness thing and then get paid back with a card.
Hmm.
Or they're just like, I'll take the one so I don't give them the card because
Yep.
I at least know what this is.
Right.
This is like 1 damage and like maybe get a couple extra points of damage out of I don't want them to draw a card.
Yep.
So yeah, like it lets you stick around longer and helps you like draw more cards that matter like later into the game.
Hmm.
Where if it was just Raging Goblin, when it stopped being good, it would just get blocked and that'd be the end of it.
Right. Yep. Cool card though.
All right.
I dig this kind of
Yes.
card.
What's up next?
What's this one?
Ooh. Fear of Missing Out. It's 1 and a red for a 2/3. Enchantment creature Nightmare. And when it enters, you may discard a card and draw a card. Like, which is just great,
Hmm.
right? Like, are you short lands? Not anymore.
Right.
Are you have too many lands?
Not
Not
anymore.
anymore. And then Delirium, whenever fear of missing out attacks for the first time each turn, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, untap target creature. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So if you can, right, like a lot of times it's going to attack once when it has Delirium and it's going to get killed.
Hmm.
But it's letting you get your bigger creature in
Right.
a second time, either to like get chumped and then like trade 2 for 1 someone, or to deal a bunch of damage,
Yep.
or what. But it's letting you get in an extra attack. And I've seen like some limited games with it and a couple like constructed games. It's really powerful.
Yeah, I think like this card in general is powerful. A 2 mana 2/3 is what used to be considered above rate. I guess I mean it still is, but
Yeah.
that rate has gotten lower over time. It's an enchantment creature, so it counts for 2 types in the bin. Helps to fuel
Mm-hmm.
the delirium that it's looking to do anyway. And like I don't know how viable it is, but I was kind of thinking of this card in like Modern Death Shadow.
Oh, you get to like attack with your shadow twice.
Yeah, like this, you attack with this thing. It helps fuel delirium for your next thing. That deck's already playing Street Wraith and Mishra's Bauble and stuff anyway
Mm-hmm.
to fuel
I mean,
delirium.
if you again think about like Pioneer, like Mardu Greasefang,
Yeah.
like here's like
Oh yeah, that's
yeah,
disgusting.
yeah, like no, I mean the problem with like Mardu Greasefang is like there's no red or white analog of Zika's Chariot,
Right.
and there's not going to be until like someone there forgets that the Zika's Chariot was like too much,
Yeah.
right? But like in terms of like ways to get things in your graveyard, ways to like turn on Delirium for things that might want that in that deck,
Hmm.
right? Like this kind of checks all of those boxes.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of do. It's not as good as the Seeker's Chariot, but we talked about the hover ship. Like that's something that is
Mm-hmm.
grease fangable and like matters. That could matter in a game.
Yeah, like where I mean, and it's cheap enough you could just play it.
Right.
I mean, the problem with like I guess it could get like tokens, but like the fact that it goes back to your hand,
Yeah.
like it would like re-trigger ETBs and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like this card, there was a time. Oh, what was it? Was it Rixmati Reveler?
I love that
Like
card.
one in the red for a 2/2 ETB draw discard,
Yeah.
and then it had like Spectacle, or maybe you had to pay mana to draw a discard unless you had Spectacle. It was something, right?
Um,
Like
it wasn't draw discard. It was discard
and then
draw.
I thought discard draw,
But
but then like for if you had Spectacle, you could like discard your hand and draw more cards or something for mana.
yeah. Well, if
Yeah,
you paid
like
its spectacle cost, you it was like 3 cards, I think. But you
yeah,
didn't have
yeah,
to like you didn't if you were empty-handed, it still triggered, so you could just draw new cards.
yeah. It was like the Pyromancer
Yeah.
text, but like that card saw play. That card was like pretty good,
hmm
and I think that this is better. Which like you can say about any card from 6 years ago versus a card now.
Yeah. Well, actually, this is templated the same way. When it enters, discard a card, then draw a card.
Yeah,
So if this is the last card in your hand, it still replaces itself.
it does.
Yep.
Uh, but no, what I mean is in terms of like, I think maybe the second ability
Oh yeah, yeah,
is better,
yeah.
and it's also a 2/3 versus being a 2/2.
Right.
But like this type of card has been powerful in the past,
hmm
and I have seen it played, and it is powerful now.
Yep. Yep. Seems pretty good. Next up is Norin's Swift Survivalist. Red mana for a
Yeah.
2/1 human coward. Norin can't block, and whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may exile it. You may play that card from exile this turn.
Of all the planes, how did Norin end up like the poster child of like fear
Yeah.
for like magic? How did he, of all places, end up on the like nightmare horror plane?
Well, so what I want to know is how is Norin like still alive?
He runs away all the time.
Well, right, but how old is Norin?
Oh, this is fair.
Like I
Yeah,
get that the thing is it can't die because he's so scared he just runs away from everything. But how old is he? Can't run away from old age.
I mean, maybe somewhere in the lore, like he runs from the Grim Reaper.
Maybe can't ever
Yeah,
catch
I
him.
don't know. Like I guess like for planeswalkers, it like time doesn't really affect them
Norin's
the
not a
same way.
planeswalker. He's just a creature.
No, no, but I was gonna say like Teferi's been around like
Oh yeah,
as long or longer, but like
yeah.
Teferi's a planeswalker. Um, but like Norn was also in like was it Time Spiral?
hmm
Planar Chaos is where he came out, like
Yeah,
that block. Like, do we know where in time we were with Norin
that's true.
at
I
that
don't know.
point? Like,
Yeah,
he could have just been in Duskmourn this whole time.
maybe.
Like maybe we just flashed forward 15 years to Duskmourn with
Yeah,
Norin the Wary.
was so scared he was hiding in the blind eternities and just popped out.
Yeah. All right. Did we say what this card did before we got on our like my lore rant?
Yeah, yeah. I read it. Whenever a
Okay.
creature you control becomes blocked, you can exile it. You may play that card from exile this turn.
Um, I mean, it is a good way if you have creatures that um have ETBs
hmm
to like rebuy those. It also like if you have the mana, like you can just like we've all been in the point of the Magic game where like you're like, okay, I'm gonna attack with like four things and like two are gonna get in. I'm gonna deal 3 damage, and my other two creatures are gonna die.
Yep.
Those other two creatures don't have to die.
Right.
They just go back to like the like full on like a bad attack.
hmm
Just like uses your mana, and if you're like a red deck that's like late in the game, using your mana is not like the end of the world
Right.
because your deck's full of ones and
Yeah,
twos.
likely your mana is going to get wasted anyway.
Yeah, like if you're at 5 mana, like you don't mind recasting your creatures to keep them.
Right. So aside from that, how relevant is a Savannah Lion? Like, I mean, it's not every day we get a 1 mana 2/1, or a 1-mana 2/2. Like it happens, but not.
It happens, not a ton. Like I feel like we recently had like years ago we had Zergo.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that's hard for this is the legendary clause.
Yeah, you can't just
Right?
jam 4
Like
of them in your deck.
yeah, it's like wait, like you kind of want to put maybe 3.
Yeah,
And like if you draw 2, it's a disaster because it doesn't die in combat.
right.
Um, because it can't block and it can't be killed with blocking.
Well, it could. You don't have to. It's a May.
You don't have to. Fair, yeah. I guess like if you want it to trade.
Yeah.
Um, when you say no, a Savannah Lion doesn't matter, like that's when 100% you find out that yes, they do matter.
Right.
But like it feels like we have Swift Spear, we have the thing that like the mouse that gets the counters when you target it.
Yeah.
Right, like those 1-drops just seem better than this.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't know like if it can like push its way into those red decks being like a 2-1. I mean, on some level like Hired Claw is a Savannah Lion.
Yeah,
And it's not seeing a ton of play. It's seeing
that's
some.
true. I mean, it's seeing play
So
in
like
standard.
yeah. So like I don't know like if this Savannah Lions can get in to standard.
Yeah.
When Hired Claw like in like is in the lizard deck and like not in the like other red aggressive like
Right.
pump spell deck.
So one more question, then we can move on from Norin here. But like, is there a deck that wants to abuse the exiling thing? That just wants to blink little stuff over and over again?
I don't know if there is one currently. Like
Does
I mean,
anything come to mind that is, a cheap
I
1 or
mean
2 mana creature that you'd like to blink every turn?
there's that white artifact creature that when it enters you draw a card and then discard unless you control a creature with another creature with power 2 or less.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it's like a 1 on the white 2/1. Like I'd be fine like picking that up and like recasting it, like because Norin's your creature with power 2 or less.
Yeah.
And you just like bash with that and like try to accrue advantage that way.
Mm-hmm.
But that's awkward because like you're tying up 2 of your mana every turn, recasting that as you're drawing more cards.
Right.
Right. It takes a while for you to be able to like, and if your curve's super low, you can still double spell on like turn 3, but like you're accruing advantage and you're not accruing deading them.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how that works.
Fair enough. All right, a couple more red cards here.
Okay.
This is a blast from the past.
It is. It is Pyroclasm. It is 1 on the red for a sorcery. Pyroclasm deals 2 damage to each creature.
Mm-hmm.
This almost feels like they were like, okay, we have to do something for the Convoke decks. We can't just like let this like continue to happen.
Yeah.
So we've had 1 red deal 3 for years on and off.
Mostly as a rare.
As a rare.
Yeah.
And then we've also had 2 in a red deal 2.
Yep.
Usually with some weird writer, like with set mechanic.
Right. Non-pirates.
Non-pirates, non-vampire.
Yeah.
Make a blood token, whatever, right? Like this is the OG from Ice Age. Like this card is. So I was gonna say this card is good, but I stopped myself because I think it's good, but it is not as good as it was in Ice Age. It wasn't as good. It's not as good as it would have been 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Because there's way more fear of missing outs that are 2/3s.
Right.
Right. Like this was always guaranteed to like get all of your opponent's 2-drops that they played. Let's say were like a wall.
Right.
And a lot of the 3s they could possibly play. Right. Like you could easily like get a 1, a 2, and a 3.
Yeah.
With a Pyroclasm. I think that like now you'll get a 1 you maybe get half the twos
Yeah.
that get played.
You're probably never getting a
And
3.
probably never getting a 3 because now they're like 3 mana 3/4s,
Yeah.
3 mana 4/4s, right? So it's like less good, but like it might just be like an amazing sideboard card for red decks that like with like the go wide token decks or like the prowess decks,
Yeah.
where it gives you a way to like snag two things.
Yeah.
But like even then, like they're like monstrous rage, and now they have like a 2/3
Yeah.
whatever Swiss spear, and then you're just like, oh, this only gets like one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's true. Monstrous Rage plus basically any of the 1-drops from that heroic deck, like this doesn't hit any of.
Mhm.
Um
Um, but like against the like, if you're like a more mid-range red deck, like in Pioneer, like just like, oh, I'm gonna get all the stuff out of Convoke.
yeah. No, I remember, I don't know if I doubt it still does, but when I was first getting into Legacy, like this was definitely a sideboard card in Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And one real quick story, doesn't really pertain to how powerful the card is or not, but I remember when I like came back to the game and I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to brew some standard decks. I like mistakenly thought that Pyroclasm was legal just because it was like back when I played when I was a kid, it was just omnipresent. It was one of those cards that just never went away.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I was pretty bummed to realize that Pyroclasm was not legal.
They took your boy.
They did, yeah.
Yeah. Like it's funny, like for years, 2 mana for 2 damage, or like 2 mana for neg 2, kind of the black equivalent of this,
Yeah,
was too good.
right.
But I think as like power creep on creatures has happened, like this is kind of the going rate for that to be playable.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it's rare that like the 3 mana deal two finds its way into a standard like sideboard.
Yeah,
Like standard has to be very token heavy
yeah.
for this to like work. But it's one of those things that like it is a good tool to have available
Mm-hmm. It
in
keeps the format in
Pioneer.
check.
Yeah, in Pioneer um and in standard. Like it stops like a tokens deck
Right.
or some other little creature deck from like being able to like have free reign.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, just this being legal in a format can make a deck like not playable. Like
Yes,
people don't even have to
absolutely.
play Pyroclasm, but just knowing that it's a legal card you could run up against might stop you from playing, a go wide token strategy or something.
Mhm.
Which
It's one of
is
those things. It's kind of like old timey Tron,
yeah,
right? Where like if Tron did good for a couple weekends
you
back when
couldn't
we
play
had
it.
events every weekend, you
Yeah,
couldn't play. You couldn't play it because each week at like top 8 of the tournament, like more Stone Rains
right.
or Crumble to Dust went into people's sideboards,
Yep.
and it's like, oh, it won an event and it finished second, and it's just like, okay, can't play it
Yep.
because everyone's gonna have everything for it.
Yep.
And this could be like, oh man, like Convoke like finished second. Oh, Convoke won
Yeah.
the challenge this weekend. It's like, well, 3 Pyroclasms in the board. Can't ever lose this matchup now.
Yep.
So that might be a lot of what its job is.
All right. Next one is that red guy we were going to talk about.
That red guy. Oh gosh, Pinhead from the
Pinhead.
Hellraisers.
Yep.
So Razorkin Needlehead is red for a human assassin that's 2/2, and it has first strike during your turn. And whenever an opponent draws a card, Razorkin Needlehead deals 1 damage to them.
Mm-hmm.
So on the play, this is almost guaranteed 1 damage.
Yep.
Like it's very much in the like Eidolon camp
Sure.
of like a creature that has this like tastic effect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it attacks way better. A 2/2 first strike
Absolutely.
is good. Um, yeah, I don't like these cards because of the like just like, oh, you're playing the game.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. Like I'm going to punish you for playing the game. It's like
Yeah.
it'd be like, if they had a card it was like a 2 mana like red black card that was like whenever you untap a land, take a damage. It's like there's a phase called untap. Why are you punishing me for going through the phase called untap?
Right.
Um, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get back to the like glory days of like mono red burn or
Hmm.
like red white burn uh
Modern.
in modern. But like could you see a deck that is more like burn based and like pioneer that is, Razorkin Needlehead and Eidolon and aggressive one drops and then just like a bunch of burn?
Yeah.
Like that's what this card asks you to do.
Well, yes, it asks you to do that. Um, there's also a correlation between this and you mentioned Eidolon. I mean, it's double red for a 2/2, same stats as Eidolon,
Hmm.
and punishes your opponent for playing the game just like Eidolon. So I think it certainly could fit into kind of the same shells that Eidolon does. We also, when we were talking about Baelmerk Leech, we talked about maybe a new archetype that's just, super controlling and just punishing your opponent for playing the game. Like just
Yeah.
I have a fistful of removal spells and ways to reload those removal spells, and I'm going to kill everything that you try and do, and eventually, just by playing the game, you're going to die.
Yeah.
But this also fits into the archetype that I was kind of alluding to with Clockwork Percussionist, where you're playing like a disruptive aggro deck, where you're just trying to get in, keep pressure on, deal with threats as they pop up, and then like you just need a way to force a couple extra points through. This could, like you said, it
Yeah.
attacks well with first strike, so this can get in some damage early, and then by the time your opponent's starting to stabilize, you might have to deal 2 or 3 points of damage to them, and if you just bide your time, this does that.
Yeah. Right. Like each time they like draw a land or a brick, um, this deals them a point of damage.
Yep.
So like they're just on a clock of like, oh, I can only draw so many more cards.
Yep.
Like I think the problem is that like the red aggressive, like we don't have a burn deck anymore. The red aggressive decks are like prowess decks now.
Well, so I didn't mean like a mono red aggressive deck. I meant
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a deck closer to that black red deck we had in Amonkhet,
Hmm.
where it was like Bomat couriers and the Minotaur that makes stuff not block, and then like a bunch of removal spells and some phoenixes to give you inevitability in the late game, and something closer to that where you're looking to play like a solid 5 turns of magic, 6 turns of magic,
Gotcha.
where you just got pressure on the whole time and you're dealing with threats. Like that's an
Yeah,
attractive archetype to
I
me.
wish we had like a burn archetype where like this and Eidolon could like play beside each other.
Oh yeah.
Because like that was always the mono red burn or like Boros burn deck had like Eidolon and like no other good 2 drop.
Yeah.
Like it needed some other 2 drop to like kind of like help hold things together.
Hmm.
And like, on turn 3, like let you double spell and use like a lot of your mana.
Hmm.
And like we just didn't have that with like just Eidolon. So like this would be great in that archetype, but the problem is that archetype doesn't exist anymore
Yeah. Super not
because
playable.
you're like spell deal you 15.
Yeah.
All right, what's up next?
We have one more red card. This is Screaming Nemesis.
Uh
Yeah. Ah! 2 and a red for a 3/3 spirit with haste. And whenever Screaming Nemesis is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any other target. If a player is dealt damage this way, they can't gain life for the rest of the game.
so this is one of the cards that we point out every set
Hmm.
that is the like we only play Magic on Arena
Right.
This is a tracking nightmare.
Yeah.
I guess you just like go someplace and have like an emblem proxy.
Yeah. You can't
Just I
gain
don't know.
life.
It's just in a Johnny emblem with a circle with a line through it over a Johnny.
Yeah.
So no, you can't do the thing a Johnny does. No, you can't gain life.
Yep.
Um, I mean, a 3 mana 3/3 haste.
Mm-hmm.
Usually that is a 3 mana 3/2 haste.
Right.
So like a 3 mana 3/3 haste is solid.
Yep.
The fact that if it takes damage, it gets to dome something else.
Absolutely.
So like if your opponent's not gaining life,
Mm-hmm.
if they block it, you get to kind of 2-for-1 them.
Yep.
Is great. Like it's almost like, oh, what is his name? Thorn Elemental,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you could have Thorn Elemental deal less damage as if it were not blocked,
Yep.
right? Like this, not every block, but a lot of blocks are just going to be like, okay, like it takes 3, I'll dome you for 3.
Yep.
And then here's the anti Johnny emblem.
Yep.
Congratulations. Oh, like you just get like a Soul Warden with a circle with a line through it, and you just give it. Here you go.
Yep.
Healing salve.
You hand your
No.
opponent a Tybalt.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yep.
This is your emblem. It's a
Yep.
Tybalt.
Yep.
Yeah, like, I mean, would love this against like green white angel nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
A deck that is overrepresented on the arena.
Yep.
People love some life gain.
So I think that there's two other aspects of this card that we haven't really touched on.
Okay.
Aside from just reading what it does and thinking of, how to use it. The first is that it slots into the deck that we were previously discussing with Needlehead there. It's
Yeah.
a super aggressive 3-drop that can, provide a little bit of reach in the late game. Almost kind of like they're seeding that archetype a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is if there's a way to deal it a bunch of damage.
I mean, this is your blasphemous act, Star of
Yeah.
Extinction All Star.
Exactly. It's only one shot, but it's like Boros Reckoner, Stuffy Doll,
Or Stuffy Doll.
yeah, whatever.
Oh, Goblin
Brash
Goblin
Taunter.
Taunter. Brash Taunter.
Yep.
Yeah. Like just another one of those.
Yep. I think this is the cheapest of those, though, right? Other than Boros
I think-
Reckoner, typically that affects on like 5-mana creatures.
Yeah, Boris Reckoner, but what is it Boris Reckoner like? Red, white, red, white, red, white
Hybrid.
hybrid?
Yeah.
Hybrid? It's like 4 of them, right?
No, I think it's just 3.
Just 3, okay.
Yeah. But like
hard-
Brash Taunter and Stuffy Doll and like those kind of cards are typically 5
Or
mana.
5s. Yeah, I mean, and the fact that like it gets to a point where like it is a card they can either block or take the damage from.
Right.
Right? Like, you play this on turn 5, they might just be dead.
Right.
They can't block it.
What about obviously this isn't going to be strong enough for to slot into, I guess, what used to be Scam in Modern. But is there something akin to that in like Standard Pioneer we could do with this? Deal it a bunch of damage, bring it right back for 1 mana.
What would do the damage? Because like
that I don't know.
There's Claim Fame.
Oh, what about what's the dinosaur that deals damage to your creatures when they ETB? It's like
It just feels
2-mana dinosaur that deals 2 damage to a creature when it enters. Marauding Raptor.
Oh, Marauding Raptor, yeah. And if it's a dinosaur, it gets big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you Marauding Raptor into this, and like you get to hit something for 2, or hit them for 2, so they can't gain life if that's what you're afraid of.
Yep.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like ways to deal like big damages, but like
Yeah, I'm not
Star of
sure.
Extinction costs 7.
Right.
I don't know.
Our Devastation is 5.
Yeah. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Right.
Get a couple attacks and then hour them.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but it was something like a different angle to approach this card from a little bit, I think.
What is there is like we've seen this for, is it Fiery Confluent? Not the like the thing that doubles damage,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
where you like deal damage to this, then you like deal it to like Boros Reckoner,
Mm-hmm.
and it doubles when it goes to Boros Reckoner,
Yep.
and then you deal it to
And it doubles it again.
it doubles it again,
Yep.
which we've been able to do with other things. But again, this is like the
Oh,
cheapest
yeah.
thing.
What about the red guy from Lost Caverns?
Uh,
Doesn't he like add damage on?
oh, yeah, I think so. Like adds one or two. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the knockoff Thor from
Yeah.
Keldheim? That's like it like deals everything deals damage like equal to its power
Yeah.
or plus its power or something. Yeah. I think there are ways to like use this to bounce damage around that could be interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But
So that's it for red.
okay,
We are like an hour and 20 minutes in.
we should probably call it for the people, huh?
It's kind of what I was thinking. Then we'll tackle the rest in the cycles next week.
Sure.
All right.
I mean, we did get sidetracked with Commander talk
We did. Sorry about that.
or band talk.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Or both.
So with that, I think we got a show.
We got a show.
So if you want to reach out to us, like if there's some cards we've missed, there's still time for us to talk about more. Reach out to us on social media, Facebook, Discord, X, email, all those places. Say hey and say what card do you think we should talk about.
Yeah, hit us up. Let us know. If there's any other cards you want, hit us up. If there's anything you're excited about, or if there's a sweet brew that you want to show us, like Brian said, all those links are down below. Let us know what you're thinking. If you want to support the show, there's two ways you can do it. The first is with our TCG player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. You can surf on over there, do whatever you're shopping, buy some Screaming Nemesis if you want to, and support the show at the same time. We would really appreciate it. If you want to support us directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. Chip a couple bucks in the pot, help keep the show going, and get access to our show notes so you know exactly what we're going to be talking about. Well, maybe not exactly, but more or less. And you also get access to about another hour of content out of us in the form of the Unshow. So if you like any of that, or if you just want to support the show, patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG, and chip a couple bucks in.
Yeah. So with that, we'll catch you on the internet.
We'll catch you on the internet.